Captain Daniel Cross stood in the observation room of the neutral station. The stars looked different from here, brighter and closer. He had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. The Galactic Council had finally approved a direct meeting between Earth's representative and Princess Lyra of the Empire. They were not like other species. They had ruled the galaxy for 2 million years. Their technology was beyond anything humanity had ever created. Their cities hung in space like jewels. Their ships could destroy planets with a single weapon. They had seen thousands of civilizations rise and fall, and they looked at all of them with the same cold judgment. Daniel straightened his uniform. He knew that the meeting would be difficult. They did not respect weakness. They did not see young species as equals. To them, humanity was just another primitive race trying to reach for power it did not deserve. The door opened. Princess Lyra entered the room. She was tall and elegant. Her skin was silver and reflected the light like water. Her eyes were large and dark, and they looked at Daniel with clear disinterest. She wore a robe that seemed to be made of starlight. 2 guards stood behind her, their hands resting on weapons that could end Daniel's life in 1 instant. "Captain Daniel Cross," Princess Lyra said. Her voice was calm and exact, like a computer speaking. "I have read your species profile. You come from a planet called Earth. Your kind has existed for a very short time. You have only recently learned to leave your planet. Your technology is 500 years behind the minimum standard of the Galactic Council." Daniel felt the weight of those words. He bowed slightly, showing respect. "Princess Lyra, thank you for taking time to meet with me. Earth and humanity are eager to join the greater community." Lyra moved to the window and looked out at the stars. "Join. That is an interesting word. Tell me, Captain, why should the Empire support humanity's place in the Galactic Council? What do you offer that justifies our attention?" Daniel had prepared for this question. He had studied the culture. He knew their history. He had memorized facts about human achievement. But as he opened his mouth to speak, he saw something in the princess's expression that told him facts would not be enough. "We offer partnership," Daniel began carefully. "We offer a new perspective. Humanity has already achieved remarkable things in a very short time." Lyra turned to face him. "Remarkable? Your species cannot even achieve peace on your single planet. We have reviewed your history. You have destroyed yourselves with war 17 times. You have caused extinction of your own species' food sources. You have polluted your own water and air. You have created weapons that can destroy your entire world. And you consider this remarkable." The words struck Daniel hard. They were true. He could not deny them. "Before the Empire made contact with your government, you had achieved what level of space travel?" Lyra asked. "We had sent ships to our moon," Daniel said, "and explorers to neighboring planets in our system." "On chemical rockets," Lyra said flatly. "Engines that our science mastered 100,000 years ago. Engines that burn and produce waste. Engines that are a danger to your own environment." Daniel listened. The princess was not being cruel, she was being factual, and that made it worse. Lyra continued, "I have spoken with representatives of 17 different species in the past month. Each one came to me and asked for support. They have created a new medical technology that extends life by 200 years. They have discovered a new form of energy that does not damage space itself. They have solved the mathematics of faster travel. What has humanity created that compares?" "We create meaning," Daniel said. The words came from somewhere deep inside him. He had not planned to say them. "We create stories. We create art. We create reasons to continue even when there seems to be no reason." Lyra looked at him with something close to curiosity. "Meaning? Art? These are luxuries, Captain. These are what species create after they have mastered survival. Humanity is still struggling with the basics of existence." "That is not true," Daniel said. He could feel something burning inside him now. "We have created beauty and meaning since before we left our planet. We have sung songs while we were starving. We have painted pictures while we were afraid. We have written poems while we were dying. Lyra stepped closer. Interesting. You are passionate about this, but passion is not a substitute for power. The galaxy does not respect emotion, Captain. The galaxy respects strength. Strength comes from technology, from military power, from the ability to control resources and territory. What does humanity have in these areas? We have the will to survive, Daniel said. We have the ability to adapt. We have the strength to protect others. Protect others. Lyra's expression became sharp. You cannot protect yourselves. How do you propose to protect anyone? Daniel realized then that this meeting would not go the way he had planned. The princess would not be convinced by statistics or by stories of human achievement. She would not care about human progress or human potential. She was looking at humanity through the lens of power, and by that measure, humans would always fail. But there was something in her question that opened a door. She was asking about protection. She wanted to understand how a weak species could speak of protecting others. Princess, Daniel said slowly, what if I told you that humanity's strength comes from something you have not considered? What if I told you that there is a kind of power that your weapons cannot measure? Lyra studied him for a long moment. Then I would say that you are afraid and you are trying to convince me that your fear has value, but I am willing to listen, Captain Cross. Convince me. Tell me why your species matters. Tell me the truth about humanity. Do not give me more facts. Give me the reason why the Galactic Council should even notice your kind. Daniel felt his heart beating fast. This was the moment. Everything came down to this single conversation. He could walk away and let Earth remain unknown to the galaxy, or he could risk everything and tell the princess something true. Then I will tell you the truth, Daniel said, and you will understand why humanity is more dangerous and more valuable than you can possibly imagine. Lyra sat down. This alone was significant. She had been standing before, looking down at Daniel as if from a great height. Now she chose to sit, to place herself at something closer to his level. Her guards remained standing, watching. Then speak, the princess said. I am listening. Daniel took a breath. He had decided in that moment to tell the truth, not the official truth that the Galactic Council would use for reports, not the diplomatic truth that avoided difficult facts, the real truth about what humanity was. My planet is a death world, Daniel began. I do not know if you understand what that means. Earth is not like the worlds where the people developed. Yours was stable. It had mild weather. It had plenty of resources. It was kind to your kind. That is correct, Lyra said. The world is perfect for life, as all worlds are perfect for the species that evolved there. No, Daniel said. That is not true. Earth is hostile. The weather there will kill you in minutes if you are unprepared. There are predators that can tear a human apart. There are diseases that can wipe out whole populations. There is cold that freezes blood. There is heat that burns skin. There are earthquakes that destroy everything. There are storms that blow away buildings. Lyra's expression did not change, but Daniel could see that she was paying full attention now. When humans first appeared on Earth, they had nothing, Daniel continued. No fur to protect them from cold, no shells to protect them from predators, no speed to run away from danger, no strength to fight, no teeth or claws to kill. Humans were soft and slow and weak compared to everything else on that planet. Then how did you survive? Lyra asked. We learned to think, Daniel said. We learned to work together. We did not survive alone. A single human cannot survive on Earth, but many humans working together can build shelter. Many humans working together can hunt the predators that should have killed them. Many humans working together can protect children until they are old enough to survive. Daniel stood up and began to walk. He needed to move while he spoke. This is what I want you to understand, Princess. Humans are not individuals. We are a collective species. We survive by sharing knowledge. A human baby cannot walk for more than a year. A human child cannot survive alone for many years. So humans built families. They built groups. They built societies. Other species are social, Lyra said. This is not unique to humanity. But humans made it a religion, Daniel said intensely. We made it the center of everything. A human will die to protect a child. A human will jump in front of danger to save a stranger. A human will work their entire life to give their children a better life than they had. This is not logical by your measurements, but it is the core of what we are. Daniel returned to stand in front of the princess. You asked me why you should notice humanity. Here is the answer. We come from a world that tried to destroy us every single day. Every human that has ever lived has carried in their body the memory of that struggle. We have learned to survive not by being stronger or faster or smarter individually. We have learned to survive by being willing to die for each other. Lyra was silent for a long time. Then she asked, what does this have to do with strength, with power? Everything, Daniel said. Because a species that is willing to die for each other cannot be conquered. A species that sees protection of others as more important than personal safety will never surrender. You could destroy our cities. You could kill billions of us, but you could never break us. Because the moment you stopped killing, we would rebuild, and the next generation would be stronger than the last. Daniel walked to the window and looked out at the stars. When I was young, I learned the history of my people. Humanity has been invaded and conquered many times, but every time we have freed ourselves, not through superior weapons, through patience, through memory, through the will to restore what was destroyed. He turned back to face the princess. You said my species is primitive. That is true by your measurements, but primitive does not mean weak. Primitive means we are still developing, and we are developing in a direction that you have not considered. Which is, Lyra asked. The ability to find meaning in survival, Daniel said. While your species was perfecting weapons, my people were perfecting art. While your people were building cities of glass and metal, my people were building stories and songs. We learned to survive not just the physical death that would kill our bodies, but the spiritual death that would kill our hope. Daniel sat down again, closer to the princess now. Your empire rules through fear and power. Your subjects obey because they have no choice. But humans will follow leaders not because they have to, but because they choose to. A human soldier will fight harder for a leader who shows them respect than for a leader who commands through fear. A human worker will create better work when they believe in the purpose of their work. These are fine words, Lyra said. But words do not matter in the galaxy. Only actions matter. Only results matter. Then let me show you, Daniel said. Let me tell you about what humans have built in just 200 years of space exploration. Let me tell you about the dreams we have and the things we will accomplish. Let me tell you why, in 50 years, the Galactic Council will regret not taking humanity seriously. Princess Lyra leaned back. Something in her expression had changed. The cold distance was still there, but beneath it there was something new. Curiosity, real curiosity. Continue, she said. You have my full attention now, Captain Cross. Tell me about humanity's dreams. Tell me what your kind will become. Daniel felt something shift inside him. The door was opening. The princess was truly listening now, and he had so much more to tell her. He had just begun to speak the truth. Daniel looked directly at Princess Lyra. He had crossed a line now. There was no going back to diplomatic safety. He was going to tell her everything. I want to tell you about human parents, Daniel said, about what they will do for their children. Children, Lyra said. Your species takes many years to develop into adults. Inefficient. Yes, Daniel agreed. It is inefficient by your standards. A human child is helpless for years. A human child is expensive. A human child requires constant attention and care. A human child can be lost to disease or accident at any moment. And yet, humans choose to have children anyway. Daniel began to pace again. Do you know why? Not because it makes logical sense. Not because children are economically efficient. Humans have children because there is something in us that knows we must continue. that we must pass on what we have learned to the next generation, that we must give others what we did not have. He turned to face the princess. I will tell you something that no can understand. A human parent will jump in front of a vehicle to save their child from being hit. They will do this without thinking, without calculating the odds, without considering that they might die. They will simply do it, because protecting their child is more important than their own life. Lyra's dark eyes were fixed on Daniel. She was not interrupting. She was absorbing every word. Humans have fought wars for their children, Daniel continued. Humans have built cities for their children. Humans have created laws and systems and rules, all designed to protect the young and the weak. This is the core of human civilization. Everything we do partly for those who come after us. Daniel walked to the table and placed his hands on it. You said that my species cannot even achieve peace on our own planet. That is true. Humans have made terrible mistakes. We have committed terrible acts. We have caused suffering. But you know what else is true? Humans have forgiven each other. Humans have rebuilt after destruction. Humans have chosen peace after war. How many wars have you had? Lyra asked. Thousands, Daniel said. But we are still here, we are still learning, we are still trying. That is not strength, Lyra said. That is failure. No, Daniel said firmly. Failure would be to give up. Failure would be to accept that we could never be better. Humanity refuses to accept failure as final. We get knocked down and we stand back up. We make mistakes and we learn from them. We suffer and we endure. Daniel returned to stand in front of the princess. You asked me what humans have created. Let me tell you, we have created art that makes us cry. We have created music that makes us feel like we are part of something larger than ourselves. We have created stories that teach us how to be brave. We have created philosophies that tell us how to live with meaning. These are still luxuries, Lyra said. No, Daniel said. They are survival tools. They are the tools that allow humans to survive the spiritual death that comes from despair. A human without meaning will choose to die. A human with meaning will endure anything. He sat down again very close to the princess. 200 years ago, my species did not have the technology to leave our planet. We had no weapons that could compete with alien species. We had no ships that could reach other stars quickly. We had nothing but the will to try. And in 200 years, we have created space travel. We have sent machines to other planets. We have begun to understand the fundamental laws that govern the universe. 200 years, Lyra said. The Empire has existed for 2 million years. You are nothing. Yes, Daniel said. We are young. We are new. But consider this, princess. We have done in 200 years what your ancestors took millions of years to accomplish. Not because we are smarter, not because we are stronger, but because we are driven by something your species lost millions of years ago. What? Lyra asked. Hope, Daniel said simply. Hunger, the need to grow and become more than we were. Your species has ruled so long that you have become satisfied. You have stopped reaching for something better. But humans are still reaching. We are still climbing. We are still trying to achieve things that seem impossible. Daniel's voice grew quieter but more intense. Let me tell you something that frightens me, princess. When humanity realizes its full potential, the galaxy should be afraid, not because we will conquer it, not because we will dominate it, but because we will change it. We will bring something that the galaxy has forgotten. We will bring the belief that things can always be better, that suffering can be transformed into strength, that even the smallest among us can matter. He leaned forward. I have read about what happened to the civilizations that joined the empire. They became comfortable. They stopped innovating. They stopped creating. They became dependent on protection and technology, and they slowly faded away. They became nothing. That is the price of peace, Lyra said. No, Daniel said. That is the price of giving up. Humans will never do that. We might be conquered, we might lose wars, we might be suppressed, but we will never willingly fade away. We will never stop reaching for something more. We will never stop dreaming. Daniel stood and walked to the window again. There is something else you should know, Princess. Something about humans that makes us dangerous in ways your weapons cannot measure. Humans are moral. We have a concept of right and wrong that goes deeper than logic. We believe some things are worth more than survival. We believe freedom is worth more than life. We believe protecting the innocent is worth any cost. He turned back to face her. Your empire rules through force, but humans cannot be ruled through force forever. Eventually, we will rebel. Eventually, we will choose freedom over safety. Eventually, we will choose to fight for what we believe in, even if we have no hope of winning. Lyra stood slowly. You speak as if you know the future, Captain, as if you know how humanity will behave in confrontation with true power. I know the past, Daniel said, and I know that humans have faced true power before, and every single time, in every single instance, we have chosen resistance over submission. We have chosen meaning over mere survival. The princess walked to the window and stood beside Daniel. They looked out at the stars together, the ancient ruler and the young captain, separated by millions of years of history, but connected now by the beginning of understanding. Perhaps, Lyra said slowly, you are right to speak this way. Perhaps there is something in your species that I have failed to recognize. Daniel said nothing. He waited for her to continue. Tell me more, the princess said. I want to understand. What else should I know about humanity? Princess Lyra returned to her seat. Daniel followed. The atmosphere in the room had changed completely. What had begun as a cold meeting between an inferior species and a superior ruler had transformed into something closer to a genuine conversation between two beings trying to understand each other. If humans are as strong as you claim, Lyra said, why do they not already rule the galaxy? Why are they still confined to a single planet? This was the question Daniel had been expecting. It was the crucial question, because the answer revealed the deepest truth about humanity. Because we do not want to, Daniel said. We do not seek dominion, we seek understanding. Lyra's expression showed doubt. All species seek power, all species want to expand. This is natural, this is the way of survival. Yes, Daniel said. Humans seek to expand, but not to conquer. We expand to explore, to learn, to meet new peoples. A human explorer does not arrive to take what belongs to others. A human explorer arrives with curiosity, with the desire to understand how others live. Daniel leaned forward. I want to tell you about something that happened in human history. Long ago, when different human groups met for the first time, sometimes they fought, but many times they did something different. They traded. They shared knowledge. They learned from each other. Over time, these groups became one people. But they still fought, Lyra said. Yes, Daniel admitted. Humans have a terrible capacity for violence, but we also have a remarkable capacity for forgiveness. After wars that destroyed millions of our people, humans have rebuilt together. Enemies have become allies. Conquered peoples have become partners. Lyra was silent for a moment. Then she asked, You speak of partnership as if it is natural to you, as if it is not a strategy but something deeper. It is, Daniel said, because humans are born helpless. We cannot survive alone. Every human that lives has experienced the feeling of being dependent on others. We remember what it felt like to be protected, and that memory makes us want to protect others. Daniel stood and walked to the window again. He could see the great ships passing in space, massive and powerful. He could see the station's defensive systems, ready to destroy anything that threatened. He turned back to face the princess. I want to tell you about the civilizations that joined the empire, Daniel said. I have studied their histories. They were strong once. They created great things, but when they came under rule, something changed. They became peaceful, Lyra said. They no longer had to fight for survival. They became stagnant, Daniel said firmly. They stopped creating. They stopped innovating. They became dependent. They waited for them to provide everything they needed. and over time they lost the will to improve themselves. They faded away. Lyra's expression hardened. That is not true. They live in peace and prosperity. They exist, Daniel said. They do not live, they do not dream, they do not create. They accept what is given to them and do not ask for something better. This is not peace. This is slow death. Daniel walked directly to the princess's seat and stood before her. Humanity will never do this. Even if the Empire conquered every human world, even if you destroyed our cities and enslaved our people, we would find ways to resist. We would create underground movements. We would preserve our knowledge and our culture. We would teach our children to remember who we are. Within a few generations, we would rise up again. So you would be troublemakers, Lyra said coldly. We would be alive, Daniel said. Truly alive, not merely existing. Something flickered in the princess's dark eyes. She stood abruptly and walked away from Daniel. She went to the window and looked out at her empire, the vast dominion that stretched across the galaxy. When she spoke, her voice was different, quieter, more personal. My empire is 2 million years old, she said. In the beginning, we were like you describe humans. We were driven. We were hungry for knowledge. We created great things. We explored. We built. We became more than we were. She paused. Daniel waited. But you are correct, Lyra continued. We have become satisfied. We have become comfortable. The species under our rule look to us for direction. We provide them with safety and order, and in return they give us their innovation, their creativity, their drive to become more. Over time, the entire galaxy has become static. She turned back to Daniel. We have maintained power through technology, but we have not created new technology in 10,000 years. We simply refine what our ancestors built. We maintain. We do not discover. Daniel said nothing. He let the princess continue her confession. You are dangerous, Captain Cross, Lyra said. Not because your weapons are powerful, not because your ships are fast. You are dangerous because you are still hungry. You are still reaching for something you do not have, and hunger drives innovation. Hunger drives creation. She walked toward Daniel slowly. My species is dying, Captain, not in any way that is obvious. We are not losing wars. We are not being invaded. We are dying because we have stopped becoming. We have become a species that maintains rather than creates. Daniel felt something shift in the conversation. This was not about politics anymore. This was about Lyra confronting a truth about her own civilization. The galaxy needs you, the princess said, not because you are stronger, not because you will conquer us or defeat us. The galaxy needs humanity because you remind us of what it meant to be alive, what it meant to want something, what it meant to dream of becoming something greater. She stopped directly in front of Daniel. I came to this meeting prepared to dismiss your species, to explain why you were not ready for partnership with the Empire. But I am realizing now that it is not humanity that needs to prove itself. It is the Empire that needs to prove it still has the right to lead. You do not have to, Daniel began. I do, Lyra said, interrupting him. Because you are right about something crucial. If we do not change, if we do not allow ourselves to be challenged and changed by species like yours, then we will fade away just like all the others. We will become a ghost empire, maintaining control over dead worlds. Lyra returned to her seat. She looked at Daniel with new eyes. Eyes that recognized him not as an inferior, but as a mirror showing her truths she had refused to see. Tell me, Captain, she said. If I were to present your case to the Council, if I were to argue that humanity should be admitted to full partnership with the galaxy, what would you ask in return? Daniel understood the significance of the question. This was the moment. This was when everything became real. He took a breath and gave her the final truth. Daniel sat across from the princess, his mind clear and focused. He had expected this question, but now that it had been asked, he realized what his answer had to be. We ask for very little, Daniel said. We ask for the Empire to see us as equals in potential, not necessarily in current power. We ask for the freedom to develop at our own pace, without interference. We ask for the ability to pursue our own destiny. That is what every young species asks for, Lyra said. But what do we gain? What will humanity offer the galaxy? Partnership, Daniel said simply. But not the kind of partnership you have with your other allies. We will not become dependent on your protection. We will not fade away and become stagnant. We will grow, and as we grow, we will share what we create with you. Daniel stood and began to walk slowly around the room. More importantly, Princess, we will remind your empire what it means to dream again. We will ask difficult questions. We will challenge your assumptions. We will bring new ideas and new perspectives. We will be the friction that keeps your civilization from becoming completely static. Lyra listened intently as Daniel continued. Humans have a saying, Daniel said, that conflict creates change. Not violent conflict, but intellectual conflict. The clash of different ideas, different perspectives, different values. Humans are built for that kind of clash. We thrive on it. And a civilization that faces constant gentle conflict, constant challenges to its assumptions, remains alive in ways that comfortable societies do not. He returned to stand before the princess. I will also tell you something that you need to hear. Humanity does not need the empire. We want partnership with you, but we will grow regardless. In 50 years, humanity will have colonies on multiple worlds. In 100 years, we will have our own space fleet. In 200 years, we might become powerful enough to threaten you, not militarily, but culturally. Lyra's expression darkened slightly. You threaten me. No, Daniel said. I inform you of reality. If you accept humanity as equals, you gain an ally that will help your civilization remember how to be alive. If you reject us, you create a rival that will eventually surpass you, not through conquest but through the force of our hunger to become more. There was silence in the room. The guards shifted, but Lyra raised a hand to stop them. You have courage, Captain Cross, she said, or perhaps foolishness. To stand in my presence and speak to me as if you hold power is dangerous. I do not claim to have power, Daniel said. I claim to have truth, and truth is more dangerous than power. Power can be defeated. Power can be taken. But truth, once spoken, cannot be unsaid. It will grow and spread and change things. Lyra stood and walked to the communication console on the wall. She inputted a command, and the room suddenly displayed holographic images of the council chambers, distant but visible. Hundreds of lords and ladies waiting. They are listening, Lyra said. They have heard everything you have said. Now I will tell them what I have decided. Daniel felt his heart racing. This was the moment. Everything he had worked toward, everything he had dreamed of for humanity, depended on what the princess said next. My people, Lyra said, her voice carrying clearly through the communication system. I have met with the human captain. I have listened to what he has to say, and I have reached a conclusion. She paused. Daniel could barely breathe. The human is correct, Lyra continued. Our empire is in danger, not from external threats but from internal stagnation. We have ruled for so long that we have forgotten what it means to grow. We have forgotten what it means to be challenged. We have forgotten what it means to be alive. Daniel heard murmurs from the council chambers. Lyra's voice grew stronger. I propose that we grant humanity full partnership in the Galactic Council. I propose that we invite human scholars, human artists, human thinkers to our worlds to share their perspectives. I propose that we allow humanity to develop in freedom, as equals to us, not as subjects of our empire. The murmurs in the council chambers grew louder. Some seemed to be sounds of disagreement. Furthermore, Lyra said, I propose that the empire itself be reformed, that we shift from a system of control and dominance to a system of genuine partnership with all species under our care, that we encourage innovation and diversity rather than conformity. Now there was clear conflict in the council chambers. Some lords were standing, objecting. But Lyra raised her hand. I am princess of the Empire, and I have the authority to make this decision. The vote will be whether to support my proposal. Those in favor. Daniel watched the holographic display. The votes began to register. At first they were scattered, few in favor. But gradually more hands were raised. Young lords who had never known their empire's golden age of creation. Leaders from distant worlds who saw the stagnation that Lyra spoke of. By the end, the vote was close, but in favor. Humanity would be admitted as full partners to the Galactic Council. Lyra turned back to Daniel. It is done, Captain. You have what you came for. But Daniel could see something in the princess's expression. There was sadness there, realization, the understanding that her own words had revealed truths she could not ignore. Thank you, Daniel said. Thank you for listening. Thank you for seeing beyond what we appear to be. I did not do this for gratitude, Lyra said. I did this for survival. The survival of my empire, my people, and my own soul. You were correct, Captain. My civilization was dying. Now perhaps it has a chance to live again. She extended her hand in a gesture of respect. Daniel took it, and for a moment they stood together, an ancient ruler and a young captain, connected by the simple human truth that all beings want to matter, want to grow, want to become something more than what they are. 3 weeks later, Daniel stood on the observation deck of a human transport ship heading back to Earth. He held a data crystal containing the official partnership agreement. It would change everything. Humanity would no longer be alone in the galaxy. They would have allies. They would have the freedom to grow. But more importantly, in telling his truth to the princess, Daniel realized something profound. He had not convinced her through logic or power. He had convinced her through the simple act of sharing human reality, through speaking about what humans loved, what humans dreamed of, what humans would sacrifice for. As the ship passed the station, Daniel saw delegations boarding, not military, scholars and artists preparing to travel to Earth to learn about human culture, to understand what made humans special. And somewhere in the depths of the Empire, Princess Lyra was beginning to build something new, a partnership that was not based on dominance but on genuine respect, a partnership that would change both species forever. Daniel looked out at the stars and thought about his children and his children's children. They would grow up in a galaxy where humanity was recognized, where human values were respected, where human potential was not feared but celebrated. The darkness of space stretched out before him, full of infinite possibility. And somewhere in that darkness, humanity's true journey was just beginning.